And hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. I'd like to thank you for joining us. And today we're going to go through the program for AARP's BankSafe training. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce our speaker today. And her name is Jalene Gunther. She is the National Director of AARP BankSafe. Jalene has authored 2 books on consumer rights and elder law. She's been cited in Senate hearings, GAO reports, Forbes, and Money Magazine. She's received 15 awards, and I love this, and counting, including Utah State's Woman of the Year Achievement Award. As the National Director of BankSafe, she's led the development of the game-changing financial exploitation prevention training you'll hear more about today. And that's already impacted nearly 11 million consumers and won numerous awards. So I know we are delighted to partner together. We are one of the select few distribution partners for this program. It's a wonderful opportunity for NAFA members, and it is exclusive to NAFA members, to be able to go through this training that we're going to talk about today. And Jalene's going to guide us through what the training is, what it takes to get through it, and really the impact that it can have on you and your clients and how you can turn around and be able to give them that, that confidence that you've trained up on this and that you not only can spot financial exploitation, be able to be part of the prevention of it. So with that, Jalene, I will turn it over to you and thank you for being here.
Thanks so much, Suzanne. We have very much appreciated the partnership with NAFA and the stellar job that you've been doing and the emphasis that your organization is having on preventing financial exploitation of older clients. And this is also a really important subject for AARP as we're looking to promote the financial resilience of older consumers and older adults throughout the country. And I wanted to talk a little bit about my role here and why I'm passionate about preventing financial exploitation. And it's because of my grandfather. So my grandfather spent about 40 years in the financial industry. But before that, and throughout his life, he really spent a lot of time in the community, from sponsoring refugees to fostering children without stable homes, to helping lay the foundation of a local university in his community. So it was really sad that after my grandfather had spent this time in the community, that at age 90, when he was retired, my family discovered he was being financially exploited. My uncle, who also worked in the industry, saw the red flags of exploitation. Somebody was actually taking cash from my grandfather's wallet. And so my uncle, who was a banker, saw the red flags of exploitation and decided to set a trap using die packs, because who else has access to die packs other than someone in the financial industry? And so our family literally caught the thief red-handed. But other families are not as lucky. And so today I wanted to talk about, what is the problem of financial exploitation? How can we get ahead of this problem to really move the needle and make a difference? And lastly, how can we work together with the financial industry to outsmart and outwit the perpetrators? And I mentioned that, my grandfather was lucky. He only lost a few $1,000s. But the average victim is not so lucky. The average victim loses about $120,000. And what we also know is that the industry loses about $1 billion a year due to this type of crime. And the problem is only going to get worse. As what we see is, if you see a rise in the population of those over the age of 65, we're also seeing at the same time a rise in the increase of the number of complaints due to financial exploitation. And advisors are really on the front line of this battle. In a study that was a survey was conducted by Investment News, one of the things that they asked was, how many times in your career have you seen or suspected financial abuse of an elderly client? And what you can see from this is most times people have. Most often it's 1 to 2 times within their career, and then even up to 5 times. The other thing is people are also seeing diminished mental capacity. And this is important because when people's cognition decrease, when they have Alzheimer's and dementia, they become more vulnerable to financial exploitation. So one of the things that we set out to do is we talked to people in the financial industry that were really good at preventing financial exploitation. And we asked them what was the business justification for doing so. We all know that advisors and others in the financial industry are on their front lines. But what's the business justification for preventing this? And in doing interviews, we found some commonalities. One was reputational risk. It prevents loss, monetary loss. It created stronger client relationships and trust. And I wanted to pause here for a second because when we first started this project, people were like, well, we live in a small community. We have these tight relationships. We think that talking about this with our clientele will actually harm our relationships. And what people found was just the opposite, was that it builds stronger relationships and trust. And then also what we found is that it increases brand distinction. One financial institution basically measured before and after they rolled something out to prevent financial exploitation, and how many of their clients would refer them to their friends and family, and that increased after they rolled it out. And then of course it meets that regulatory guidance. And if we're already doing that regulatory thing, we might as well expand that to increase other benefits as well. So how do we get ahead of the problem of financial exploitation? And that's really real action before the money leaves the account. Because what we know about this type of crime is that once the money is gone from the account, it's gone. It's really difficult to near to impossible to ever garnish that money back. And the other thing I wanted to talk about too is, people ask me, they're like, Jalene, well, who's doing the perpetrating? Is it strangers? Is it family members? And the answer is it's both. But it's really distinct, which is, and as many of you know, is that the majority of them are family members. And they steal twice as much money, family members do, than stranger perpetrators. And the reason why is kind of twofold. One is, you take, like, for instance, my brother or my sister versus somebody who doesn't know me. My siblings are going to know where my assets are more likely than a stranger. So, and they already have a relationship of trust with me. So that's the one. Those are kind of the two factors. The other thing is what happens is family members tend to steal a little bit here, a little bit there, and a little bit here, and it becomes this larger amount. Whereas a con artist or that stranger typically goes in for that one amount and then flees. So really, when we look about how do we get ahead of this problem, how do we take real action before the money leaves the account? This saves our client, this saves our reputation, and all of those other positive benefits from it. And one of the things that we know is that training and education can really make a difference in stopping and preventing financial exploitation. And one of the things I wanted to kind of stop here and talk about is AARP, when we first started, is we did a survey of consumers, and we asked them about 25 different things they would want from the industry, from one-on-one kind of retirement advice to getting a discount on a product or services. And the number one thing that they said that they wanted was that the front lines of the industry be highly trained to prevent financial exploitation. And, I really like this because older consumers are smart because they know the value of preventing financial exploitation far outweighs the value of getting a discount on something. And so one of the things we did is we brought together the industry in about 30 different workshops, and we asked them the same questions. we did with consumers. And they said, how can AARP play a space in this? What can our role be? And they said the same things that consumers did. They said, we need thorough training that's available for free to the industry, so that it's not a barrier for smaller size advisors and other frontline employees. And so from those 30 different workshops that we did, we also looked at what needs to go into this type of training. We wanted to hear from people who were in this, who were on the front line. So we brought in a variety of people, both on the nonprofit side, but also the industry as well, to build this and really build this with the industry so it spoke to them. And we rolled this out in a pilot. We tested this first with banks and credit unions. So we tested it with over 2,000 of those types of employees in about just about a dozen different states. With that, we developed it with over 200 people who are experts in the financial industry. And then we just recently, as NAFA, as one of our key distribution partners, launched this on September 15th of this year. And the other thing I wanted to quickly share too is that when we launched this, first kind of in the retail banking and credit union industry, is we wanted to know if it was effective, because AARP is doing this for free, because it relates back to our mission of protecting the financial resilience of older adults. We reached out to Virginia Tech. They are a research partner, and they do a lot of things within the gerontology field, but specifically in the area of preventing financial exploitation. And they did some research about 6 months involved in these same 11 states, and had almost about 200 financial institutions on this. So a little bit different than financial advisors, but I wanted to share some of their research findings. And what they did was a random trial study. And we hear about those a lot with right now as people talk about vaccines. You've got the people who take the vaccine, and you have the people who don't take the vaccine, they get the placebo. It's the same thing here. You've got people who took the training, and you had people who took something that was not the training. And then you compare those two groups. And what's interesting is we asked 3 different questions. The first was, okay, does the training increase knowledge? The second was really, okay, let's bring it a little bit, kind of a higher level, because it's one thing, let's say I read a book on how to change a carburetor. I could do really well on the exam, but would I actually feel confident to change a carburetor? No. That is just not my skill set. I just never done it before. And so we wanted to see, does the BankSafe training increase confidence? Do people feel more confident? And that's why in the training, I'll do a sneak peek in a second here, is that we're not only teaching people things, but we're also having them test their skills while they're in the training. And then the third is, does the BankSafe training actually save consumers money? Are we able to prevent the exploitation before the money leaves the account? And so the first question they answered was, does it increase knowledge? Well, it does. It increased it by 133%. Next question was, does it increase confidence? And what we found was yes. Those who took the BankSafe training, they say 4 times as were more confident 4 times as much as those who did not take the training. And the majority of people from both groups, those who took the training, those who didn't, they had taken some sort of other prevention financial exploitation course within the last year. So they do have some sort of knowledge coming in both groups. So what this shows is the effectiveness just of that BankSafe training. And then really groundbreaking, does the BankSafe train group save consumers money? And what we found was that it does, And part of that reason is because we're reporting at 4 times the amount than the control group. But they're also saving a tremendous amount of money. The BankSafe train group saves 16 times more than those in the control group without the BankSafe training. So you can see they saved, just in 6 months' time, saved about $1 million. And this is on the retail side. So you can imagine what it's going to be when you're looking at people's retirement assets of your clients. So what Virginia Tech concluded was that we met our goal, resulting in significant financial savings and substantially higher reporting of financial exploitation. So I also wanted to stop here and talk a little bit about, kind of the incentives, the carrots that we are using to really encourage advisors to complete this course. And so what we have here is we're really leveraging our brand to encourage people to do this. And I know many of you are kind of solo practitioners. So if you are at a firm where you're the only person, you might have someone at the back end. If you complete the course, so our rules are that 80% of advisors complete the course, and they confirm that you have a policy to report exploitation and that you're in good standing with regulators, then we allow you to use the AARP BankSafe training seal on your website. And we do this to this is something really rare for AARP to do, but we feel so strongly in the importance of encouraging the education to help empower the front lines to protect older consumers that we're doing this. So some questions that came up as we've launched this was, can solo practitioners be BankSafe verified? And the answer is yes. If it's just you, we're just looking at advisors within. If you're a solo, let's say I'm Jolene Green, and it's me, and we've got Alex, who's kind of fielding calls. Only Jolene Green would have to do the education, not the person who's taking calls. So it's just looking at, maybe you have 2 or 3 advisors within your office. Those are the only ones we're looking at to meet that 80%. So the next question, which I've sort of answered already, is if I have 5 employees, but only 3 directly work with clients, can I still qualify to be BankSafe verified if all 3 pass the training? And the answer is yes. The other question that we get to is, who should sign up? And that depends on, if you're the solo practitioner, you're the person who should be signing up for the course. And it's pretty easy. You go to AARP.org/BankSafe. With that, we also wanted to let you know too that it's an award-winning training. We've now won about 8 different awards. The latest one was for our COVID response. We added a module that just goes through some of the things that we're seeing, because now that people are socially isolating, the types of things in exploitation we're seeing is shifting a little bit. And also, older adults are more vulnerable, because if you are socially isolated, it just is ripe for abuse, as we all know. But the award that I'm most proud of is really the compliance category, that LearnX Compliance Award that we won, actually in Australia. It's an international award. Again, you can register at AARP.org/BankSafe. And with that, I am going to switch over and show you what this training looks like. Okay, so one of the things that we did is we really wanted to create this with the industry. And one of the first things that people said to us is, they said, look, we're really busy, and sometimes we don't have the time to sit for 60 minutes and take a training. And can you make something that's bite-sized, where we can go in and out as much as we want to? And so that's what we really did. Throughout this, you'll see not only have we broken this training into 5 different modules, but each module is broken up into smaller bite-sized pieces. And And we also wanted to make it interactive. And throughout this training, what you're going to see is we have videos, we had games, there's gamification, there are quizzes. And the reason why we wanted to make it interactive is because we know from memory retention studies is that if something's interactive, people tend to remember it 80% of the time versus if it's just in room class learning, which has a much lower retention rate of about 10%. So this particular module really starts off in understanding what financial exploitation is. And we wanted to really, for people to hear, not from AARP, but from people who are victims of this, telling the story. And everything within this is a true story based on what people on the front lines have told us. And so this first story is from Michelle, who's a family member of a victim, just kind of walking you through the experience she had with her father. And then we also, it kind of goes through different, who's the perpetrator? It's people that you know. What are the mechanisms that the perpetrators use to access that money? Then I mentioned we did a COVID module. You hear from the CEO of AARP, and that really denotes how important this is to AARP. And then some of the different schemes that we're seeing related to COVID-19. The next section is really about recognizing, what are the red flags? Because you can't stop it unless you can see it. And so we start where other trainings leave off, which is knowing your client. Because that's why advisors are on the front lines, because you know your clients and you can see those anomalies, those red flags. And so you learn a lot about if you know your client, you're better able to see some of those red flags. And then I mentioned the games. So this is my favorite game in here. Is called Trust Your Instincts. Now I'm going to date myself a little bit, but I used to play that 1980s duck hunt game when I was a kid. So I don't know how many of you have played that as well, but it's the same concept. But instead of ducks, you have the financial advisor and you have a client, and the client's telling you different things. And you have to decide which one is suspicious and which one is not. And if you get 3 wrong, you're out of the game. And what you can also see is this is gamified. So as I'm opening things, as I'm going through and answering questions, I'm garnering points. And that just makes it a little bit more competitive, a little bit more fun and engaging. The next section is my favorite section. This is where it's all about social impact, which is what are the action steps to preventing financial exploitation? And really what we discovered, because a lot of the training that we looked at before we even started this process in this program was, what's the other training look like? And a lot of it was, you see the red flag and then you report it. But it misses this middle ground of, well, what do I do when I see it? How can I really help my client? How can I stop this? And so that really lived in the hearts and minds of seasoned professionals. And so we conducted about over 50 content interviews, really looking at how do you do this. In fact, our study also looked at it about the most effective ways to stop exploitation before the money leaves the account. So some of these are asking additional questions. For financial advisors, it's that temporary hold and it's that delaying the process, as well as asking additional questions, which were the top 3 most effective ways to stop it. And in doing that, and knowing how to ask those kind of questions, because you still want to maintain trust with your client, how do you do that while you're probing and asking those additional questions to be like, oh golly, I just saw something, I need to figure this out. And that's what this activity here does. And it's almost like choose your own adventure. You've got the advisor, You've got the client's bringing in someone you've never seen before, and you have to choose which is the better way to start the conversation. And then you get the next scenario. And then you have to decide, should I ask another question? Should I report it to regulators? And then I'm trying to get the wrong answer here, is that you get that instant feedback, and it will, if you get it wrong, and then you can go back and try again too. And really what this does is it goes through to really ask the questions to get you a better, firmer understanding of how to ask the right question to maintain that trust, but also the right way to ask those questions, to probe, to see if it's financial exploitation. And then we talk about reporting a little bit here. One of the things that you'll see is people ask us questions. They're like, well, do I have to report in this? I'm from Oklahoma, and there are different reporting laws from Oklahoma than Georgia and Ohio. So what we've done here is put together a map, and you can click on your state and it will tell you, are you a mandated reporter or not? Do you have immunity for reporting? Do you have a temporary hold law within your state? And is there a training requirement? But then, because all services are state-based as well, it will provide you with the number that you need to report it to, additional local resources. Ohio is lucky here because there's a lot of additional resources they can do. And then we have some national resources, one of which is our AARP Fraud Watch Network, which is a hotline that older adults can call if they have questions or concerns that they are being scammed. So with that, we also have FINRA rules here. And then we have a video really about a situation where someone saw something, they were able to stop it before the money left the account. And now the next section is just how we wrap everything up. We've gone over a lot, and so we have a video that really puts everything together. And I won't play this, but I'll talk to you a little bit about this. And I will tell you that we shot this in February of this year, which we're really excited about because we got it all done before the lockdown. And this is actually shot in a financial advisor's office using actors this time. And we used about 30 different financial advisors to write this script based on their interactions with their clients and seeing financial exploitation. But as it goes through this video, it will stop, it will ask you a question, and then you will kind of move on. And that's really to slow things down as you're kind of putting everything together. You get a certificate of completion upon passing at the end. And then we have resources towards the end of the training. What people said was, you know, we want things to share with our clients. Are there things we can download and give them? And so we've got our handbook here about scam artists. We also have an alert program if your clients want to sign up for that to find out, you know, what's going on, especially with COVID these days and different scams. Getting those alerts can be helpful. But then also other nonprofits and government entities that have really great kind of handouts for older consumers as well. But we also wanted to put in kind of just resources that people can have on hand. There's one on how to spot the red flags. Okay, there's dementia out there. How do I recognize dementia? And if I do know that someone has it or I suspect it, how do I start to, what's a better way to kind of approach the conversation? You know, some of those things are like, you want to look for a quiet place to talk. So there isn't a lot of sensory things going on in the environment. And then a list of questions, how to ask the right questions. We spent a lot of time talking to fraud risk managers about how to ask the right questions, not to scare someone off. And then we also have investment firm resources. If you're looking to prevent financial exploitation, here's a list of different things you can do. Here's a trusted contact form. so that if you suspect financial exploitation or a cognitive decline, it authorizes the client, fills it out. You guys know this. And then you have that emergency contact that you can contact to get the family involved. And then just some other things that regulators have put on that might be helpful to you as well. Again, the course is completely free. We wanted to do this to really get in the hands of people on the front lines and not have any barriers for solo practitioners and for the industry. So with that, I will turn it off and turn it over to see if we have any questions.
All right, thank you, Julian. Thank you, that's been awesome. I just want to, so if you have a question, put it in the Q&A box. And then I wanted to make sure that we had this kind of FAQ answered as well. If you're not sure where to get this as a NAIFA member, it's inside the member portal. And inside the member portal, there's an entire page on AARP BankSafe. It's got Julian's contact information, my contact information, right? And links into all of these pieces as well. And there's also a link in there to a prior article that Jolene has provided for us. And I think at some point, Jolene, actually, I have a question for you. Is this true? Because I remember you telling me this, but let's just be accurate. Once you actually receive this, is that publicly available of who actually has been received the verification?
So once you apply for the verification, one of the things we do is we maintain a list of those who have received it on our website, and that just gives more, it really lets people in the public know that you are taking prevention of financial exploitation seriously. So it just gives a little bit more of a carrot and incentive to take the course.
And so that credibility, right, that recognition, of course, was such a great name brand. So now you're not only the NAIFA member that is putting your client's best interest forward, ascribing to a code of ethics, but now you have this additional verification and security of trust. So we're really serious about being able to push that with the NAIFA piece of it into 2021. And so I love that that is also publicly available. So again, more people, as Julian said, we know it's fraud is not going down, right? It's going to go the reverse, especially as we go to a more and more digital world. So I think that's really important that our NAIFA members adopt that, get through this training, right? And then maintain it. And again, can you go through one more time on the renewal part of this and what that entails?
Yeah, so every year we come out with a refresh of our training. We're updating it a little bit. We'll have kind of new things. And so then you'll reapply every year for that verification saying that you've completed it, that other financial advisors, if there are any in your office, at least 80% of you have done it, which is pretty easy bar. And then again, that you're in good standing and that you have a policy to report financial, that you confirm that you have a policy to report financial exploitation. And then you apply, and then we provide you a JPEG that you can put on your homepage of your website as well. And then we list each individual name of your financial firm or your applicant's name. So.
And is that also free?
Yes, so everything's completely free. So we really wanted to make this really available to anybody in the financial industry, whether you're a bank, credit union, huge investment firm, or a solo practitioner, because we really don't want any barriers of cost to prevent this type of engagement. But yeah, so it's completely free. Again, you can go to aarp.org /BankSafe to learn more, as well as your internal NAIFA portal as well.
Okay, I don't see any questions, so I think we're good to go on that end. But thank you so much for joining us today. And we're going to be able to archive this as well and put it on the page. And again, thanks so much. We're delighted and we're so happy that so many of NAIFA members are using this program already. So I don't know if you know offhand how many people have gone through, Jolene, but I think last time you guys told me it's been, I think it's in the hundreds. So I think we need more and more people. You know, our goal is 80% of our membership will have gone through this. Okay, so thanks again for joining. And we look forward to seeing you on our next time together at NAIFA. Thanks again. Take care.
Thank you.